Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and today... yeah, we need to talk about how I've been watching Attack on Titan. For those of you who are either not aware of kind of the world of anime, and if you are, you've been living under a rock for the past several years. Attack on Titan is originally a manga series that I believe started publishing in 2009 over in Japan. Obviously did not come to the US for a couple years after that, but really kind of exploded into the public consciousness in 2013 when an anime adaptation was produced by Production IG in conjunction with Wit Studio, and yeah, it kind of exploded in popularity. I remember when this kind of really became popular in 2013, and then also 2014 it was still kind of growing, at least where I lived, and everybody was talking about it. Like, everybody. The hype for it was so real, you could not escape. And even now, if you say Attack on Titan, I guarantee you there are going to be heads that pop up being like, you were talking about Attack on Titan? As for me, I did not watch it initially as it was airing. I did, however, when I heard about it, flip through some of the mangas, because at the time I was working in a bookstore and that was an incredibly easy thing to do because they were all right there. And that was pretty much my exposure to Attack on Titan. Then I believe I watched maybe part of an episode, but it wasn't a complete episode. I was somewhere in the middle. Needless to say, I kind of escaped a lot of the hype, in that I just didn't directly engage with it. And as pretentious as it might sound, I didn't engage with it because of the hype. That was one of those years, 2013, 2014, those were years where a lot of stuff that got tons of hype I ended up not really liking. So I was afraid that this thing, in the one little niche genre, would be something that would disappoint me as well, and I was just sort of not in the mood to be hyped and then disappointed all over again. This is a terrible life philosophy, by the way, and I don't really recommend it. I suppose I should say that with me in anime, I am certainly not as well watched as many people. I tend to be freakishly picky about what I choose to watch. In the case of Attack on Titan, it just sort of appeared in my Netflix, probably because Netflix knew I had been every now and then dipping into their anime selection. I was like, oh yeah, I did catch a random episode of that. Everybody's watched it. I'm like, well, you know, the hype's not as bad as it was in 2013, so maybe I'll go watch some of that. And really a big mistake to put this on during my lunch break, because my reaction to the first episode went something like this. What the f- Yeah, I kind of forgot that this story goes from zero to blood-curdling scream in the span of about a blink of an eye. It's fine. On Facebook, I had put in how I'd forgotten how everything escalates so fucking quickly on this show, and I was like, holy shit, I'm like, I need a defibrillator because I'm not gonna be able to last. And a friend of mine put with the show, oh, look at the pretty flowers, everyone is dead. Welcome to Attack on Titan. But there is something I would like to mention about Attack on Titan, which came in conversation with a friend of mine about it. I cracked pretty much that same joke that we go from zero to blood-curdling scream in the span of a blink to a friend of mine. She says, oh, you should talk to my husband. I tried watching it and I didn't like the aesthetic. And I said, oh, so it's the visuals that really turn you off. She goes, yeah. She goes, look, I know the Titans are meant to be, you know, gruesome and gross, but I couldn't get past that, and that made it really hard to watch. And I think that's actually a really valid point. Yes, the Titans are designed to be really gross and not exactly pretty to look at. But I do think it's important that in a visual medium, and especially one that is so stylish and stylized like anime, that if you really can't bank on the visuals, you're gonna have a really hard time wanting to watch, you know, 20-minute episodes of something. Because that's a lot of your time that you're spending watching something you don't find visually pleasing. I think the film AKIRA is a brilliant piece of filmmaking, but I really fucking hate the art style. I don't like the colors, I don't like the character design, I don't like anything really about it. Which means I've watched that film a grand total of once and I have no interest in ever watching it again because I hate looking at it. Even though I think the story is fairly brilliant, or the very least, really interesting and fun to think about. That's pretty much the best example I can think of an anime where I go, I appreciate this story and I like it, but I really hate your art. In the case of Attack on Titan, it certainly has a unique art style. Characters are drawn in these really heavy black outlines, which makes them really kind of apart from the backgrounds that they're in, and it's one that I find interesting. It's certainly different. While character designs themselves can seem sort of standard, I guess, for an anime genre, and that I'm gonna look at them and go, yeah, they're kind of designed like characters I've seen before. It's the fact that the characters are drawn in these heavy outlines that I find interesting, and that the actual kind of painting and shadings of the characters, it's almost like a painting. And that provides a little bit of kind of visual interest, and especially also with the Titans. They're all very different, and I think that's another strong suit. Is the animation always perfect? No, there's some moments where I go, okay, well that was weirdly choppy, and there was also something where a Titan stepped on something and the tiles were like bright purple, and I can't explain that to you. Seriously, I can't. But what Attack on Titan has going for it is that it's coming about in the age of something like Game of Thrones. It's something that's really easy to latch onto, provides enough really good questions that you want to know, tons of characters, most of whom all die very gruesome deaths that will haunt your nightmares. Stop it. Stop it. And again, it's just horrifically violent. You have characters who are eminently likable as per kind of the genre as well as the medium. Anime has a lot of tropes. In fact, it kind of survives on tropes, but not in such a way that I say that like a criticism. You kind of go in knowing you're going to get character tropes and that you're really kind of looking forward to them, like you want them. What I think for me is fun about Attack on Titan is I'm clearly a terrible human being and I'm brought in by the violence. There was something that I think getting so horrified and shocked in the first episode, even though I knew it was violent, I'd flipped through the first issue of the manga, like I kind of sort of knew what I was getting in for, but I'd never really properly sat down and watched it and seen it animated for me. That shit will haunt my nightmares, I swear. But yeah, I was sort of drawn in by the violence, and I stayed because I had questions. The ultimate question being, what are the Titans? I'm pretty sure that's a question that's not answered yet. But if there's one thing I do also appreciate about Attack on Titan, it's that it really takes its time with its storytelling. There are about 8 episodes that take place during the space of one battle. The battle for Trost, which is this one little like pocket of a city, takes about 8 parts, and they have to examine it from all these different angles because you have so many people involved and there's so many different parts and pieces that are all moving at the same time. And I actually kind of appreciate that it takes its time, and then it takes its time in dealing with the aftermath, and that, you know, there's still shit going on, and you're like, okay, we're sort of getting a sense of how this world is working to a degree. It can take its time, and it can go a little slowly, and that doesn't necessarily mean things are slow, because things are not slow. This anime may take its time, but it moves a lot. You really should invest in like heartburn medication or like a defibrillator, anti-anxiety meds, have a pillow, something. Don't do what I did and sit in a chair and have to have terrible reactions of jumping back and being like, what the Welcome to Attack on Titan. So this was not very helpful. This was just me ranting about how I'm watching Attack on Titan and how the first episode hooked me through gruesome, gory, horrific violence. It was awesome. And seriously, Attack on Titan's been talked to death. I honestly don't have anything to add to the conversation, other than that if you have not watched it, you really should. Don't just watch it because of the hype. I'm still in it, not because it was hyped to me from, the Earth to the moon. In fact, that's kind of why I avoided it. The story is interesting, the animation and the art is dynamic, the characters are either eminently likable or at least eminently interesting. There are no dull characters, I'll give them that. And I at least have questions. I'm curious about these Titans, I want to know more, I like the idea of this world, and if you've watched Attack on Titan and have general thoughts on it, please put them down below, though please try to keep them non-spoilery. But that's it for me today, you guys, so until next time, cheers.